Hi there, and welcome to EV Kitchen. And once again, we're on our journey of making terrific food. We're going to make spaghetti bolognese today. Nice and simple. We'll talk about it in a minute. But first, and most importantly, is you need to subscribe. Right down here, there's a button. Just subscribe there, and you get more and more videos as we make more and more. Okay, spaghetti bolognese. Everybody's favorite dish. Unlike fine dining, okay, when we make spaghetti bolognese for bulk cooking or catering, we need to be very mindful of the fact that we prepare the food so that it becomes bane stable. What that basically means is that it will be able to sit in the bane and sit in there for at least half an hour without deteriorating. Which means that what we have to do, we don't complete the cooking process in its entirety. To make spaghetti bolognese, the ingredients are very, very simple. We start off with a little bit of minced beef. Then we have a little bit of garlic, oregano, some Italian mixed herbs, a little bit of tomato. When I say tomato, I mean crushed tomato out of a can. Also, we need to get some tomato paste. What else am I thinking of? Oh, some beef booster, okay? Unlike nonna, okay, or any other Italian person that makes terrific spaghetti, okay, and takes a lot of care, okay, we use commercial products like beef booster, like beef stock and that sort of thing. Oh, I forgot. We have to add some bay leaves. Bay leaves are also important. Now, we're not going to cook this all on the stovetop. We're actually going to prepare it on the stovetop, and then we're going to transfer it to the oven for that slow cook so that we don't burn and stick to the bottom. So, you know how all good chefs always keep back one of the ingredients? Well, I'm not really a very good chef, so I'm not going to hold back any of the ingredients. I forgot to tell you, we also need onions. That's an important ingredient. Okay, now, what happens is with catering or bulk cooking, we're not going to sort of sit there and put 20 kilos of meat in the tub and go from there. I'm going to give you the recipe in batches, okay, the precise amounts that you need, so that you can work out how many people you're going to cater for and expand from that. We're going to work with 2 kilos of mince, which should be enough for about 20 serves, between 18 and 20 serves. Okay, so allowing about 100 grams of beef for each person. You can go more if you want, and that's up to you. But we're going to work out a recipe on 2 kilos of beef. So what I've done here, because I've already got my stove nice and hot, I've got my saucepan ready to go. I've got 2 kilos of beef mince. All I'm going to do is just drop it in. Just start breaking it down slowly with the wooden spoon. Now remember, that's 2 kilos of mince. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to keep stirring the meat, waiting for it to break down. Okay, we're not going to wait for the whole lot to cook all the way through. Okay. You notice I didn't put any oil in it because normally when you buy your meat, it's fatty enough that it won't need any oil for frying. Remember, we are cooking for catering, and these are large quantities. So we've got to be very, very mindful that it's not like our normal home kitchen cooking. Okay, as you can see, the meat's fairly broken up. If your meat is staying fairly clumpy, okay, what you can do is you can actually now, if it's clumpy now, you can just add a bit of onion to it and get it ready to go. So I've already chopped my onions here, save ourselves a bit of trouble. Okay, for the 2 kilos of mince, we've got approximately 4 to 5 medium onions. And what we're going to do now is just stir it through slowly. And the idea is once the onions and the mince is cooked together, we're going to start consolidating them. So now I've already started a session and I've already cooked off 4 kilos of mince, so this will be 6 kilos. But the recipe we're going to be talking about is still going to be around the 2 kilos of mince, and even I'll be adding more as we go. Now if you have a look in the pot here, okay, there's 4 kilos going off already. We can't add anything to this until all the onion has basically become translucent. Okay, so as you can see, the onions are still white, so we're just going to wait for them to become translucent. Now, coming to the pan I'm working on, okay, just give it stir slowly. If you want to use a bigger frying pan, you can, or if you want to, instead of cooking in a frying pan first, you can cook it straight into one of these directly. Now, as I said, the reason I don't like cooking sort of 6 kilos of mince at a time or 8 kilos of mince at a time, is because you don't have that nice control over how you want the mince to break down. Now that I'm happy with what I have here, I'm actually going to remove this and bring my large pot to the front, and I'm going to add what I've just prepared into it. As you can see here, okay, we've got a nice big batch. There's about 6 kilos of mince in here. We're going to be adding some crushed tomatoes, okay? I'll go through the volumes in a minute. We're going to need some black pepper. We're going to need some Italian seasoning, oregano leaves, some bay leaves, tomato paste, beef booster, garlic. By the way, we don't endorse these products, so don't worry about the brand names. And of course, some salt. I'm going to be using one of these ladles or spoon, okay, because I've got a rough idea of what the measurements should be like, but I'll give you exact measurements as we're talking. Okay, this is now coming along beautifully. Okay, we can actually start adding some of the things. We're going to start adding the salt. For this, okay, for 2 kilos of mince, again, the 4 brown onions, we're going to add to it now around 2 tablespoons of salt. We always add the salt first, okay, because we want that flavor to go through all of the food immediately. Because when we taste it for salt later, okay, our salt calculation will be very, very accurate. Okay. Now, with the black pepper, you're going to need 1 tablespoon of black pepper for the 2 kilos of mince. Okay, for the Italian seasoning, you're going to need around 200, or say about a quarter of a cup of Italian seasoning. For the oregano, you're going to need about a quarter of a cup again. We're going to need, for the 2 kilos of mince again, you're going to need around 2 tablespoons of beef booster or beef stock powder. Okay, now that we've added these in, we can give it a good stir. Turn the heat down a little bit and want it to simmer for a little while. Okay. What we're doing now is we're allowing the herbs and the spices to permeate through the food. And again, we're not looking at making this, we're not going to cook this to the nth degree because, as I said before, we have to make it vein stable. For the last 5 minutes I've been stirring this thing frantically. No, not really, I've just been talking to the cameraman. I've just been stirring it. Now what we're going to add to it is basically our garlic. Okay, we add the garlic in later, okay, because the garlic has to have a subtle taste and not a strong taste in the food. So you're going to need around, for the 2 kilos, you're going to need 4 solid tablespoons of garlic. For the 2 kilos of mince, you're going to need around half a tin, okay, so let's say 400, 800, say 1.2 kilos of tomato. Now that we've added our tomato paste, our crushed tomatoes, we're now going to add some tomato paste. You're going to need, for 2 kilos of mince, you're going to need 5 tablespoons of tomato paste. Remember, you don't use a whole jar for the 2 kilos. I'm just doing this because I've got 6 kilos of mince in here. Now, we're going to add 4 bay leaves to it. Okay. Now, once we've added the 4 bay leaves to it, we're going to bring it to the boil, and then we're going to be transferring it to the oven. Now, what you'll also notice is, you'll see because we're using a relatively standard hamburger mince style mince, okay, we're getting a lot of fat coming to the surface from the meat. Okay, we're going to actually drain that away in a second. I'm going to show you the simplest way to do it. And all we're going to simply do is just drop our soup ladle just below the surface, and let the oil drain into it slowly. This is a thing of patience, and it's as easy as that. Okay, we just take it away, and we just start again. It's starting to boil on the outside, we're getting a few bubbles, so just going to give it a bit of a stir. Now, of course, you're going to notice that when you first put the tomato paste in, the tomatoes, the crushed tomatoes, you'll find that it's not going to change color much until it actually starts cooking and coming to the boil. What I'm doing at the moment is just getting rid of some of the small clumps of mince. And what I'm going to do now is this is almost ready to transfer to the gastronome pan. The last little bit, what we do with the last little bit, we just grab the saucepan in its entirety and we just pour away. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to transfer that to the oven, and it's going to sit in there for about 3 hours at around 100 degrees Celsius, and then we'll just bring down the temperature a little bit depending on how fast it's cooking. But it needs to be in the oven for about 3 hours to get all those flavors come through beautifully. Okay, just checking. Okay, look, as you can see, okay, it's a nice, a very, very wet Bolognese sauce, and that's basically because we've been steaming it, okay, as it's been warm cooking in the oven. It hasn't, we haven't lost much to evaporation. And the other thing you'll notice is that you've got a nice, rich consistency to the meat itself, and that's because of the slow cooking. And unfortunately, you can't smell it, and it smells absolutely pathetically beautiful. Now, it's really, really beautiful smell to it. It's got that nice Italian smell to it. Okay, so what happens here is that the reason we keep it fairly moist is because once we decide to mix it, okay, we're going to mix it with a very, very dry pasta, okay? Not dry as in uncooked, but it's going to be very, very al dente, and that's how we make it bone stable. So when we add the pasta to the sauce will have the opportunity to get absorbed into the al dente pasta, and then you'll have this nice, richer sauce, which won't be as wet as what this looks. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this in the cool room for now, and then bring it out when we need it. So how do we serve it? It becomes important. Cooking and preparing the pasta, it is always better to use a cold pasta and a cold sauce and warm it up. So to use a cold pasta and a cold sauce, it means that you've got to cook it well in advance. Cook your pasta very, very al dente with some oil and some salt, okay? And then once you're happy with the pasta, it's nice, a little bit crunchy, okay? Chill it and put it into the cool room or the refrigerator. Once you're ready to serve it, all you're going to simply do is add the sauce to the pasta in the proportions that you want, okay? And then you can put it into the oven to heat it up. And that's it, and it's ready to go. And as we always say, don't forget, don't leave the kitchen the way you found it, leave it the way you'd like to find it. Now I'm going to need 10-15 minutes to put it back the way it was. You have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.